Hi, I'm Chef Keith Snow. Welcome to my kitchen. I want to show you how to make tiramisu, the Italian classic dessert. It's very easy to do. It's great for entertaining. People love this dish and they think that it's some kind of magic, but as you're going to see here, it's a very easy dish to prepare. The one thing I'll caution you on is it does use eggs that are not cooked. The whites that we have are just beaten, and the yolks, they were cooked slightly up to the ribbon stage. You'll see about that in a minute. But you just need to know that it has some raw eggs in it. It's fine as long as your eggs are fresh and you're buying them, from an actual supermarket and not from, the trunk of some guy's car. So let's get ready to assemble our dish. Here we have 4 egg yolks, and I separated the egg yolks from the egg whites. So I have 4 egg yolks and 1/2 cup of sugar, and that's all the sugar that's in the whole recipe. So it's not overly sweet. And what I've done here is sort of a baking technique or a pastry technique. I put this over a double boiler and I whisked it until it reached the ribbon stage. And what that means is it starts to cook the egg yolks slightly. They're not fully cooked, but it thickens it. And what happens is it comes to the ribbon stage, gets thick, and then there's a term called blowing a rose. And it gets thick enough so where you can blow into this and it will hold the shape of your breath. That's how you know you're at the ribbon stage. But for the lay person, it needs to get thick without making scrambled eggs. And when you're watching it over the double boiler, if it looks like it's getting too thick, you can come off the heat, go back on the heat, that kind of thing. So now we've got this here. We need to add mascarpone cheese. And this is an Italian style thickened, they call it a cream cheese, but it's a lot more flavorful than regular cream cheese. And you can buy it in tubs like this. You can also make it yourself just by culturing real heavy cream with tartaric acid. It's actually quite easy, but for the sake of ease, we buy it in these little tubs. Great quality, very consistent. And this gives it a very special tangy flavor that makes it taste super. So we're going to use 2 of these containers, and these are 8 ounces. So there's 1 pound of our mascarpone cheese in here. As a side note, this is really good on top of crepes and things like that as well. So we'll get that kind of all in there, set this off to the side. Now what we want to do is to combine this with our egg and sugar mixture, and it's a little tough because this cream is kind of cold, but if you just work it, it will combine. It's kind of stuck in my whisk, but that's all right. Just keep working it. So now we have our egg yolk, sugar, and mascarpone mixture right here. And this, of course, is just egg whites. And very simply, these were put in a mixer at high speed with a touch of cream of tartar, which helps them form these stiff peaks. So now we're going to take this and we want to combine it into here to make a light mixture. But before we add those, we're going to add our cream. And this is just a 1/2 pint of organic heavy cream. Nothing was added to it, no sugar. Some recipes you'll see would call for adding sugar to this, but I don't like a ton of sugar. So this we're not too worried about folding in. We're just going to add it all at once. We'll fold it in, but if it deflates a little bit, it's not that big a deal. Okay, we'll set that aside. So this is folding. You want to spin the bowl and kind of make it go on top of itself like that. And you could eat that like that, actually. Delicious stuff. Very light, this mixture at this point. And people seem to love tiramisu, so when you make this at your next supper club or dinner party, when you're entertaining, people will definitely want the recipe. Now that is done, so now we're going to combine our egg whites into this mixture, and we'll put a little less than half to start, and these will just kind of mix right in, a little bit of folding, a little bit of mixing. This will immediately lighten this mixture up. Give it some air. Okay. And now we'll add the rest in here all at once, and these will fold in. The idea is to try to make a mixture as light as possible. And now that's done, it almost looks like marshmallows, it's so light. Okay, now let's pay attention to our lady fingers. This will be the dish that we're actually going to serve our tiramisu out of. And this is cast iron, but it does have an enameling over it. It will get nice and cold, and it'll make what I think will be a pretty presentation at the table. But before we start doing that, we need to pay attention here. And I have several ingredients. One are lady fingers, and these you want to buy dry. Oftentimes you'll see them in the store and they're kind of cake-like. You don't want to buy those for this because you'll have mush. The idea is to soak them in this liquid, which I'll show you in a minute, and still have a little bit of texture inside the dessert. So buy ones that you can see are crisp like that. And you can buy them in packages. I know Whole Foods has them. Now, to this mixture here, you'll see different recipes that call for espresso and dark rum. What I like to do is, I've got espresso coffee brewed here. You could use instant espresso powder or just very dark coffee, it doesn't matter. And then I add a little Marsala wine. A lot of times they call for rum like I mentioned, but I think the Marsala wine goes well here. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons. You don't want a ton of it. And this is a Marsala wine that was bought at a liquor store. I would caution you against using Marsala cooking wine that you'll find in the condiment aisle of the store because it's garbage. You don't want to use that. Buy some good stuff because you can use this for a few months anyway. So now we have that mixture here, and here's the trick. You're going to use your fingers, stir it up a little bit. You want to drop this in, turn it over, and get it into the plate. If you leave it in there too long, it will absorb too much and it will fall apart. So there's kind of a little time thing, that's enough. Very simple. And they will absorb that beautiful flavor of the dark coffee and the Marsala wine, and they're going to be awesome in the final dessert. Okay, I've completed one layer of our lady fingers that have been soaked. So now what we want to do is add some of our cream mixture on top. Nothing fancy, just sort of dump it right on top. And now you want to sort of push it down so it fills in between the lady fingers. And now you continue on with another layer of these guys. And if you have to break them to make them fit in the pan, that's fine. And here goes the rest of our mixture, or enough to cover. And depending upon the size of your plate, you may have some extra. I can see that I definitely have extra. We'll worry about that later. So we want to force it down, like I said, to make sure it's well covered. And there's also recipes that you'll see where gelatin is used, and that makes an interesting texture. I wouldn't advise against it. However, for, you're going to use this for a party or something, you want to make it quick, I wouldn't bother so much with the gelatin. I've made it both ways and it comes out equally well. Okay, so there we have that. That's complete. This needs to cool. You can't eat it yet. And if you do, you're really not having tiramisu. This needs to be very cold, 3 to 4 hours in a refrigerator. But what we do here is add some good chocolate. And you can see here, I've got a 62% cacao chocolate. This comes from a place in Berkeley, California called Scharfenberger. They make very good chocolate. If I can get it out of the package enough, I'll just use a little simple rasp. And you want to dust the top of your tiramisu with this stuff. And if you didn't have a good chocolate, I suppose you could use cocoa powder, but you're really cheating yourself. So get a block of this stuff. You can buy it in a lot of stores. Just make sure it's got a good cacao percentage and get that on there, just like that. Now this goes into a refrigerator for several hours until it's nice and cool. I'll show you what it looks like a little later.
The Harvest Eating community celebrates the benefits of a healthy eating lifestyle through seasonal, organic, and local foods. To view more of Chef Snow's recipe videos and to experience the Harvest Eating lifestyle, visit harvesteating.com. Harvest Eating, 4 seasons, 1 lifestyle.